You see, when we started taking photographs, in late 1960s, we had our elders, senior photographers, some of them, but we had the photographers community the world over that mattered to us. Not just people, photographers in India, but photographers all over the world whose work had inspired us a great deal. So we used to be scared. You know, first time when I thought of doing an exhibition, I said, oh my God, how will I do it? My elder brother, other photographers, and so many foreign photographers whom I admire. And it took me quite a few years to do my first exhibition. And today, with the digital cameras at your disposal, people are doing exhibitions after every few months. We had one photographer who would say that every photograph of mine has a story to tell. Fair enough. But is this story worth sharing is the question. And now the other debate is photography as an art form. And I know some photographers here and in my country who their full-time profession is photography. Their earnings come from photography, but they would like to call themselves artists. Well, even our parents gave us names which we didn't belong to that character, to that energy, or the, you know, how parents want their child to be the ultimate little fellow in this world, and they get such kind of names. So it's like calling names. So becoming artists, I remember, you know, I think it was in 1995, me, Graciela Iterbud, and Sebastian Salgado, we had done a book on India and Mexico called Parallel Winds. And when the book was being released, so each one of us had to speak few words, and then the audience could ask questions. So when Sebastian spoke, somebody told him in a very rude manner, but yours is photojournalism, where do you stand? And he, being such a gentleman and a sensitive person, he was for a moment baffled a bit, you know, a little uneasy. So I was sitting next to him, I said, Sebastian, shall I respond? He says, sure. Now, the purpose of photography, whether you call yourself an artist, a photographer, or anything else, the purpose of photography is to capture the time we live in. Now, the time you live in, every click is capturing some kind of time, but is it worth sharing? Now, the next thing is that photography started 150, 160 years ago, and it came to our part of the world almost simultaneously. And those were the days when the cameras were bulky, lenses were also very heavy, and the films were slow, so required long exposure. And yet those guys tried to, especially when it came to portraiture, they literally followed the tradition of painting, because everyone need to have some kind of a reference point to go on with the visual experience and interpretation. And if you look at those portraits of yesteryears, there was something very special about them. Almost every portrait done by anybody and everybody, because the films were slow, so the exposure was long. So they will tell you to sit straight, a comfortable position where you will not have to move or shake your head or anything. And also, you will stop breathing for that few seconds. Fine. Very good. You can be absolutely still like a rock for a few seconds or a couple of minutes, and you can also hold your breath. But can you hold your emotions? No. Man, emotions coming and going in those few seconds when you are being exposed had such a riveting quality in every bloody eye of every portrait that was done in those years. And that's why bulk of the portraits are still so valid and strong. And today, at a fraction of a second, we just do the magic, we think we've done it. So the purpose of photography and what they captured in those years. And imagine, Bond and Shepard have done a great job in India and in our part of the world. And one of our own, Raja Deen Dayal, did great portraits and photographs of heritage and landscape and things. So the purpose of photography, coming back to that, is that, you know, if you see that photograph done by somebody like Bond and Shepard, with the time exposure and everything, and a painting done by a great famous painter, anybody like Hussain or Satish Gujral or some people here, you can paint anything from your imagination and call it the Last Supper. And people will have to accept that because an artist is doing it. That is the problem. So artist, if he paints the sky green, nobody will question him because he's an artist. So a painting done of the same experience and a photograph taken 150 years ago, when you look at the painting by a master painter, you say, wow, very good. But when you look at the photograph, what do you say? Oh my God, that's the way we used to be. And that purpose of photography, which is photo history of who we were, is one hell of a responsibility. Whether you do it at a fraction of a second, or no matter how you grab it. So, to become an artist is a complex that many photographers are developing. And they are trying to do photography in a style of I don't know what kind. So when I told Sebastian, I said, you know, when I explained to them that what he's capturing and also what he's done in his last work, which is called Shahidul Genesis, is even Ansel Adams should feel proud of that, you know, where all he's managed to land and capture with such great quality. So if your work has captured the time, precious moments of history, or even ordinary daily lives, how we have been living it each day, and with aesthetics and with meaning, is even more meaningful. But to become an artist is very strange. Now, we also have a small school in Delhi called Raghu Rai Center for Photography, because they feel that my name will help them, which it is, but that's the way things are. And my son is running it, who's been a photographer and photojournalist for 20 years. So the other day he was telling me, Papa, you know, we are getting so many more students in our place than we have more than 100 schools in Delhi, photography schools. And also the fact is that many photographers, professional photographers, who don't get any jobs, any assignments, they open a school. So everybody is a teacher. So he told me, Papa, if you agree to spend more time with us, we can expand it beautifully. And we'll do this, we'll do that. I said, Sonny boy, you started it. This is your baby. I can only turn up once a week when I'm here because I want to remain a photographer. And with divine grace, not with God's grace, because God does not exist. The names we have for those guys who've come and gone, Lord Ram, Lord Krishna, Allah Ta'ala, Buddha, Christ, they've come and gone. And none of them is coming back, I promise you. And they've never come back for anybody. Only their illusions, they keep bothering you. And why do we have so many gods? And India has several thousand gods and goddesses, by the way. We are the richest country in that matter, you know, which is so amazing. You know, but these gods, it's a couch, it's a cocoon. We protected ourselves in those shells of God because He will take care. You know, when Ram Mandir was being demolished, Ram never turned up to protect it. When Babri Masjid was being demolished, Allah never cared. And even today, the biggest wars are fought in the name of religion. And Osama bin Laden's, and jihadis, and fundamentalists from other religions cropping up even in our own country. Why blame others? So those guys have come and gone. Now, why? Who were they? If they were gods, they wouldn't have died, I promise you. And I don't connect with the name of, though we use Inshallah. It's a very common expression in our part of the world, you know. Whether you are Hindu, Muslim or Christian, Inshallah. Everybody say, even foreigners, they enjoy saying that, Inshallah, right? So, who were they? I think they were very saintly, pure souls who were connected with the divine energy. And that divine energy is available to any one of us at any given time. And only those will get it who will make themselves available to such vibrations and such contexts. You know, sometimes I'm a very nasty guy. I go to the extent that when you connect, now the connection in creativity is, just a minute. So when you learn to connect mentally, physically and spiritually with every inch of space, then you are not you. You become a part of the whole. And the whole begins to perform for you. And all those energies and moments begin to come together in certain rhythm, certain poetry, certain music that we have inside us. And that is the divine energy. When that begins to play, because you become a part of the whole, you're living in the now. Your connection with your environment, the world around is so complete. And when you begin to photograph, your images have that closeness and those moments of expression and strength, of poetry and music, which is shared. To be able to live on that level of oneness and creativity, it takes hold of you all the time. But for us food generation, quick cameras, digital cameras, you put your camera on autofocus, auto exposure, a flawlessly well exposed picture appears. When we used the films, and especially color film, we didn't know how to control the color quality. Today, the color control is within your fingertips. So everybody's become a photographer. But then where do we go from here is the question, because everyone wants to be an artist. Shahidul himself, he's become more of an activist, and his faculty and teachers, they are into it, which is part of how photography can be used for a useful purpose. But photography can bring out a lot of music, a lot of poetry. People like Minor White, you look at their work of nature. I mean, they create magic. So there are various kinds of photographies being done, but the main purpose still remains capturing the time we live in, whether the subject matter is nature or portraiture or ordinary daily lives or big events. And big events give you quick, big pictures. But to do that, it's like a meditative process. If anybody asks me, do I do meditation or can I do meditation? No, I can't. But through my journeys, when I am into an exploration and when I make myself available, there come the meditative moments, which I say are divine moments, where nature begins to play for you, perform for you. And that is the ultimate purpose of creativity. But if you become an artist, then God save us. Then you should become also, once in a while, if you want to tell a story, you can use the words, you can give a background music, but this is becoming a trend that you make an audio-visual presentation of your work with music and words and everything. But let me tell you, your photograph is as good as much. It can speak for itself through its contents. And your words and your music is crutches. So a single powerful image is here to stay as a final permanent witness to the history that we live. And please do not do it to yourself, because I am coming back to the presentation that I saw on 28th afternoon. The name was Pothe. Every photographer's path was their kind, and they did not, each portfolio did not take me into any journey on that path, and there was no path I could see. I wish it was Pothe, Shonge, that you take us along, man. If you can't take us along. Now, overexposed, faded colors, frivolity of things, it's antithesis. But if this is what the world has come to, we should thank our stars. Somebody asked Henri Cartier-Bresson, what do you think of André Cartier's work? And he said, what we are trying to do today, he's already done it in some way or the other. But the fact was that André's canvas was much smaller. And Bresson widened it up. Why? Because we had somebody who created a reference point in that direction. And today, people call Bresson's work formalist. So how things are changing. Today, photography stands on a different platform, but unfortunately for many of us, we want to become artists. Art happens only when the divine helps you. Without that, you play this technical game of frivolity and non-existent of emotions, experiences. Even if you see the great works of great masters in these big museums in Europe, everywhere, so much of expression in body language, on the faces, on the atmosphere, in the grass, in the trees in the background, and the clouds. They energize the same expression. And we become so hungry to become an artist that our work, Vanessa had very gentle, very sensitive approach to things. And the way she spoke, the words became important to me. Dayanita's work, those little books, has a lot of sensitivity about it. I think women are doing better in photography than us. Has a lot of sensitivity, and the way she's put it together with certain, visual poetry and dignity about it. Only thing is she calls it, those little booklets, as museums. So that's her choice. But the fact is that they are worth looking into them. And after 150 years, if we don't respect the works of great masters, I was having that debate with Shahidul, and Shahidul said, but the change and different cross currents, which is very correct for sure, because any art form can survive if it's rejuvenated with new energies and new experiences. There is no doubt about that. I would like to protect my children from getting contaminated that will cause indigestion in their system. Because these young minds who look up to us with their eyes wide open, and they think something is going to fall out from us, which they'll pick up, and that will create the magic. The vulnerability in terms of becoming an artist and explorator is something so precious. And these sensitive souls should not be given all kinds of doses from anybody and everybody, unless initially these earthen pots have their own grains, and they haven't got together to strengthen the pot. And you're pouring all kinds of stuff into it, which is contaminating it. The ability, also, the purpose of a teacher is, of course, in terms of photography, you have to share the technical knowledge, about cameras, lenses, light, everything. But a good teacher is the one, of course he shares his insights, but also he looks at each individual whose eyes are wide open and looking at you with the possibilities, that you understand that energy and that sensitivity of this child or that child, and then send them in their direction. I tell you, I have admired works of many photographers, and they rejuvenate me. And their good work creates a challenge for me. But when I shoot, nobody exists for me. Why? Because when you, now I'm coming back to what I had said earlier, when you connect with the space, every inch of space, mentally, physically, and spiritually, nobody else can exist in between. These days, people are doing conceptual photography. Concepts are born in this mind space. And this mind space is just this much. And the world is so large and huge, and it's ever-changing. When you are doing conceptual photography, or even when you work on a theme to begin with, some pictures, some ideas are workable and they look interesting. But when they begin to repeat, it's anti-creativity. And this process, it takes hold of you. They say geniuses are born. I have never seen any genius who's born and he's so prolific and he's doing masterly paintings or taking great pictures, if at all. The genius has to be born out of one's own guts, your own guts. दिल से उठता है या जान से उठता है, ये धुआं कहाँ से उठता है? I'm sure at least many of you follow this. When you come from the guts and you explore and explode, see the world, how different it can look. But not just that. Each day you have to be coming from your guts. I tell you, after 55 long years that I have been clicking, I haven't got a magic finger. And people sometimes tell me, please take my picture. They think, oh, whatever I'll click, bullshit. There is no magic finger. And youngsters, we don't have any capsules available that we shall feed you and up you will go. ये रोज का जीना है और रोज का मरना है, और आग का दरिया है और डूब के जाना है. If you realize that for yourself, nobody can stop you. And also, we salute the masters, but they should not exist when you are working, because that's your private space. And that is directly related to you. Who is you? Now the problem is that digital technology has been a recent phenomenon. I promise you, when I started taking pictures, just because my focus will become very intense through the viewfinder, and it took me some time to get into it seriously. Today, I am on fire all the time. Even in the middle of the night, I get up and I say, oh my God, like that. And next day, I'm shooting like a madman because I don't have a magic finger. And the world is so huge out there and so fascinating that you just can't stop. So coming back to the computer technology, God has been installing the world's biggest computer in each one of us. And they say this computer, its capacity can be increased to anything. And it's a storehouse of ideas, sounds, sights, images, stories, and everything. Some people ask me, what were you thinking when you took this picture? I said, I never think. They said, you don't think? I said, no, I don't. What were you thinking? Thinking man is sitting here in this computer, and this man creates blockages. He tells you, when you go out with a camera, with an idea or with a concept, he tells you, yes, yes, take this picture because similar kind of picture you've seen before and it's stored inside you. So this is how we photograph most of the time. So if anybody asks me how to be a good photographer, I say, do not take all those good pictures which are stored here. And the moment you stop doing that, which is so good in digital technology, you click a frame, you see it right now, and you know where your steps are going. And the simple measure is that, is it something unique experience you captured, or is it that you've seen before? I'd never carry garbage home. I delete it. And when I go home, so that I can feel clean and fresh. And then, when you go home, after day's work, you've done your edit, and after your meal, you put your head on your pillow to go to sleep. And that's the time that the other guy in you turns up. And he begins to question you. You know the other guy? Yeah? So that other guy is your real guru. We can give you some idea about explorations and creativity and some definition of this and that, but that is the guy who was with you during your shoot. And he says, man, what have you done? You say, I have taken a good picture. He says, come on, man, it was much larger in experience, and you got this much, and you're fooling yourself. So, the teachers and your guru inside you, they have to work together. And you have to be so instinctive. You have to be so honest to yourself in every which way, how you look at your own work. Because sometimes in a hurry we can say, yeah, good picture. But why annoy everybody is the question. You know, this exploration is something very personal. And that personal journey is within your own accountability and your own way of deciding things. So more than your teacher, more than any mentor or anybody, listen to the guy sitting inside you. To make a difference to your own life and your creativity. But please try to understand that this divine energy is available to all of us. And the more you connect with it, the more magic and gifts will come your way. And do we have the photographs or not yet? Not yet. Good. Shahidul, can we have some more conversation? Yeah, please, please, ask any question. Any question. Any kind.
I don't understand what you have against the word artist. When I believe that, I don't believe in God. I believe in a divine something which is the closest to artist. And when you say that we should look inside ourselves and feel the gods and feel the woman that I have inside or the man that someone else has inside, well, that's pretty much divine, and that's pretty much where we create.
There you are.
And then, what do you have wrong with the artist?
No, no.
Because the artist is actually who creates.
No,
It's a definition, huh?
nothing wrong with the word artist. Because what is happening is in the process, our value system, our basic understanding and purpose of photography is getting lost by calling yourself an artist. For God's sake, be an artist and create magic moments through anything. And we love it. But what we see in today's generation as, and they call fine art photography. Oh my God, fine art photography takes years and years of meditative explorations to come to fine art. And here they do faded colors, expressionless bodies against the washed out skies, and they call it creativity and art photography. Please create something magical and call it anything, we love it. Okay?
I still have the same doubt about what all your conversation. I really don't understand what you have. I mean, this whole audience included me and included people that they are not that young. We all share with you as well the responsibility of taking pictures, making pictures, sharing pictures, talking with a visual language. But what you have done here in 1 hour is to destroy every single hope that we have.
That is the purpose. That is the purpose.
I'm really sorry to say that
I'll tell you. You see, once, we have an organization in India where they invite artists, musicians, photographers to go and speak to schools and colleges, kids in schools and colleges. So once I was sent to a high school, and I had barely spoken for 6-7 minutes, and one young guy raised his hand. So I said, yes. He said, sir, can I ask you a question? He was troubled like you. He was troubled.
I'm not troubled.
You're sounding like that. Okay, anyway. All right. So he says, sir, can I ask you a question? I said, please do. He says, what you are saying sounds very interesting, but we cannot figure out what you are trying to do to us. I'm a dangerous man and this is what I do. So I said, I'll tell you, I'll explain it to you right now. And the word you used, destroyed. So I told him, I said, I have been asked to speak to you and uproot you and toss you in the air. And when you are in the air, I'd like to freeze you there and tell you, before you land, you have 2 points that you have to take care. One, that you shall not step on the steps you have already taken. And second is, you shall not also step on the steps other people have taken. Yeah.
I just wanted to...
Please speak a bit louder. Or
Hello. I just wanted to know more about this magical moment you said quite a few times. Because, I mean, whether it is like when I feel it's magical or when it is like my photographs or whatever is like in front of many people and approved by masters and like gatekeepers, they approve my pictures or allow me to be an artist or photographer. I mean, and a bit like when I have this approval, I can say like I'm a photographer and I feel this magical moment and I've shared it with everybody. I just wanted to know more about this magical moment.
Okay, sure. Now, you see, we have experienced this, each one of us. We are walking through the street and suddenly we see something so energetic, so special, or so funny, or so strange that it stops our eye and we say, oh, that was something which has come and gone in a fraction of a second. That's something. And that something is what? Instinctive truth and intuitive response. For me, even to the problems of daily life, of the workers here, or the Bhopal gas tragedy that I have done very extensively, or Bangladesh war. First and foremost, I want to be that instinctive individual who captures that truth in that moment, which has potentiality, emotional and inner value of its own kind. And these emotions, they come and go, they come and disappear. Where we are at a dead loss. Only when we are programmed here and we have agenda and we are looking for something we want to do. You have to be free of this mindset, this computer, which is the biggest computer and a controller of your movements and of your responses. When you begin to connect your eyes to your heart, most of us, most of the time, we are programmed human machines and our eyes are connected to our computer here. When you begin to disconnect that, your heart should become the sensor to receive and respond. Those are the magical moments.
If you can, when you look at your work and your practice for such a long time, we can see that you came from a lineage of the kind of photography happened in France with Henri Cartier-Bresson, decisive moment and everything. But walking for such a long time in India, do you think there is anything specific that connects to our part of the world and which is different from the practice happened in the West? Is there anything called?
Well, I would expect you guys to see that and know that. For instance, when this curator-editor asked me, Sebastian and Graciela, to do that book on Mexico and India, Sebastian refused it initially. He said, come on, Raghu Rai is doing it. The way he captures India and the nuances, we are nowhere closer to him. Now, you see, Eastern sensibilities are definitely different. And also, the fact is that your instinctive truth you know, a man like Bresson, Bresson was one guy, and there are quite a few others who responded to situations in different country, in different culture, in different society, from their instinctive response. Now, who's this instinct, you know? This fellow sitting inside you, who you are born and brought up with, in certain kind of, you know, atmosphere. And that is the guy who can capture the nuances and details in another culture, in another country. Let me tell you, many photographers who come to our part of the world, very few people have penetrated deeper, because it's visually so different, so unimaginable, and the physicality of things is mind-boggling. And this is what you have to see if my work has that kind of sensibility of our kind. I should not need to explain that, you know, if you are watching carefully.
My question is, you were talking about that God doesn't exist, but the divine energy does. But I think that the divine energy is the God inside of yourself. Even if you're clicking a picture, that's God speaking through you with that picture. I call myself an artist, even if it's not the word, it doesn't matter. I do poetry often and I paint. And I also feel that thing that wakes me up to do that thing and to write that thing in the paper, I have to do it now. And that's the divine power. I think that's me, of course, the other me inside me, that's very powerful. I am very little to be that powerful. That's God inside me, isn't it?
Yes, you can call it a God, for sure. I have no objection. I was telling you my personal understanding of things. Sure, God exists for most people in this world, you know.
So it can't be a statement like that it doesn't. You know.
No, listen, it's a free word. I have the right to say what I want to say. You have the right for sure, and you call that divine energy God. You see, also, no, the question rises, if I say no God exists in this world, then why must we pray? I'll tell you that also. Now, you see, in the name of Allah, or Buddha, or Guru Nanak, or Christ, or Lord Ram, most other gods have kind of imaginary photos, except Allah. But still, Allah is a powerful name for you guys. But other people, they have an image of their God in their head. So when you begin to pray in the name of Christ, okay, what happens? It's very simple.
You connect to your inner self and you try to talk to yourself and try to create the channel that Christ or God or Allah can talk to you. And
yes.
You get the information.
Yes, that is one. But actually what you're doing is that when you are praying, your mind, body and spirit, they come into certain alignment within yourself. And when you are aligned as a one human being, this puts you into peace. This gives you extra strength, your inner strength, to become one and deal with the world. So, I promise you, this is my personal thing. I have interacted with His Holiness Dalai Lama, and I am sure, and he has very spiritual powers to heal people. And I'm sure I say that Buddha must have been like him, or Christ must have been, Guru Nanak must have been like him. So there are other spiritual leaders also. They carry this energy. But when you do the prayer, which is precious, to align yourself, basically you're aligning yourself into one being. And then your energy and your penetration is much more stronger.
Sir, I have one question. You said that people keep taking the pictures they see. People keep taking the pictures they see. Like I continuously see some kind of what type of pictures in Flickr, and I end up taking that similar picture. So you say try to capture something different, which you people particularly don't click. So what should be the process or way, or what should be the way I should change my thinking of taking the picture in different way or out of my heart, through my heart?
No, you see, when you consciously deny yourself of taking that picture which looks like that picture of somebody else, you do that exercise, and after a while, nature will begin to show you something different that you've never seen before. This is what I'm saying, and this process is available to anybody and everybody, but who will find it? Those who are searching for new meaning, for new expression, they shall find it. It's available, and that divine connection is available to any one of us, no matter which religion you come from. But the moment you begin to choose that analytically, then nature begins to grant you that extra magic.
I think we will need to close it. This was obviously a very charged session for various reasons, and it's interesting that is the case. Looking at the number of people that have crammed themselves into this place is evidence of how much interest there is in this photographer, in this moment, and certainly one of the great photographers of our time sharing his moments. I'm not going to expand it further, but I do think that there is an issue that is to be raised. One, whether there is a single truth or not, because the assumption that one has to search for the truth implies that there is only one truth. I believe there are many truths. And I think we need to create space for those multiplicities of truths. And that perhaps is Raghu, in his way, will find his truth. Someone somewhere else will find his or her truth. And I think we need to be in a place where those multiplicities of truths can coexist. Because it is only when that happens that we will find the peace that you're talking about. But we cannot expand on that right now. This is not the time to do so. Yeah, go on.
I didn't say one truth. Instinctive truth of the moment. And the moments keep changing. And your alignments also keep changing. So I'm not saying there is only one truth. Please.
Okay. Well, on that note, thank you very much. Thank you.